Hello and welcome to another great episode of the Optimize Show. I am David Mamano, your host. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Please help us spread the good word. We're trying to help the community with just great leadership and lessons to optimize you and your business. Today I have on the show a longtime friend and really successful business owner. Her name is Abby Reinhard. Abby, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
This is very exciting for me because when I first started my company way back in the mid-90s, I asked a mentor of mine, his name was Dick Kaplan, it still is really a mentor of mine. I said, I need a lawyer now, my business is growing, who should I have? And he goes, well, the best guy in town is Don Adair. And I called him and he took me and he was awesome. He was like super talented, but also super like nice and kind. And it was your father. How about that? And so all these years later, here you are on the show, right? So,
that's great. I love that story.
Yeah, great man. So you are president and CEO of GP Flooring Solutions, which we're going to get into. You went to University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and you went to another school. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but it's called Harvard for graduate school. Congratulations. You have been in EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, YPO, which is the Young Presidents Organization, and then WPO, which is the Women's President Organization, and Vistage. So I think you've covered them all.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time. Not at the same time. And these are all incredible leadership organizations for achievers, entrepreneurs, business owners, et cetera. And obviously they're doing well. So GP Flooring Solutions, want to hear the story. I also want to mention too that you've been on the top 100, correct?
Yeah, a few times.
A few times. And you were, was it last year? I'm trying to remember. You were Business Person of the Year.
No, it was a few years ago.
Was it a few years ago?
Business Person of the Year, yeah.
All right.
We made the Inc. 5000 a few times.
I made the Inc. 5000.
Yeah.
So a little old flooring company doing some pretty great things. Huh?
Yeah.
So how did you become a business owner? And then you could tell us a little bit more about GP Flooring Solutions too.
Sure. So I bought my business almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I did that because a friend of mine bought a small business, and that sort of made me realize that was a possibility. And I had been involved earlier in my career in a startup. And that was sort of a painful experience. And I thought, oh, this is great. You know, I could buy something that's established, that has a foundation, and then grow it.
Right. So already the momentum was there.
Right. There was that foundation.
Yeah. So why flooring? Did you grow up as a little kid saying, I love flooring?
I love flooring. No, I don't know if anybody says that. But it's a great industry. And I wasn't excited about it at first when I first learned about the company, to be totally honest, because, you know, I didn't know anything about it. It didn't sound sexy.
Right.
But then when you learn about the industry, there's so much potential. You know, everywhere you go, they need to have flooring.
They need to have a floor.
It gets replaced, you know,
Yep.
and it makes a huge impact on any space. And we've been able to grow the business and have an amazing team that I love, and it's worked out.
That's fantastic. And so, you know, you said, you know, you didn't have a love of flooring, but just when you looked at the business to purchase, it just looked like a good profitable business and a good model. Like you said, it's everybody has flooring and it is replaced.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the seller was honest. I think that's really important. There was room for growth. And like I said, you know, there was a great opportunity. Industry-wise and all around. Yeah.
So tell us about the journey. You bought the business 10 years ago, started, you know, being CEO of your own company. What happened next?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, the first year, the seller, his name was George Hage, was on with us. So he was full-time with us for the first 6 months. And that first 6 months was, you know, drinking from a fire hose. And he was part-time with us for the next 6 months. And so just learning the business and getting to know the people and really needing to bring some systems in online to bring a little bit more order and structure to the company. You know, in addition to learning an industry and and building relationships with the team members and also with our supplier partners, all kinds of things. So it was very hectic at first. And then, you know, I've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah.
We just keep like improving our our processes, and investing in our people.
Excellent. What are some of the challenges that you faced in the beginning and that maybe you continue to face?
I mean, I think at first you have to expect that you don't have much credibility, right? You have to build trust over time.
Yeah.
And, let's be honest, I was a younger woman in
Still
the
pretty young, but
construction
younger,
industry.
right? Yeah.
Not super young. I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
But I think you build credibility over time. I needed to be ready to do that, and that's what happened. So at first, I think, some people more than others were suspicious, or they didn't know me.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. So having to build that up, and then also just, you can get overwhelmed when there's so much to learn and so much to do, and to just find the right people and the right systems to help stay on track.
Yeah.
And actually, I joined EO early on. I think 2 months after I closed on the business, I joined Entrepreneurs Organization, and that was really helpful because I'm a learner. I'm a student,
lifelong learner
of
right?
business, so it gave me material and structure and peers around me that really helped me. I think to sort of shorten my learning curve.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful.
Yeah, I was in EO for 15 years and I loved it. So yeah, fantastic. Going forward, where do you see, is the, I guess the temptation to grow into different cities, or are you going to stay local? What do you think the next 10 years is going to be like?
Yeah, so I'll back up and say, so at GP Flooring, we sell, install, and maintain any kind of flooring.
Right.
So if you walk on it, we do it.
Is that your tagline?
No, but maybe it should
could be.
It could be. Our tagline is exceeding expectations one floor at a time.
All right, very good.
And we're headquartered here in Rochester. We do have an office and warehouse facility in Buffalo and in New York City.
Okay.
We have a small team on the ground in Syracuse as well. And we do work regionally and nationally. So we have a really agile team. So our footprint is pretty wide, but we have those 3 locations. And there's a temptation to branch out from there. Yeah. And I would certainly consider that.
Yeah, very good. How many people worked for the company when you bought it versus how many now?
There were a few part-time people, but I think it was 9 people. It might have been 7 FTEs or 8 full-time equivalents. And now we're about 60.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have a lot of partners as well.
Yeah, well, we just got reconnected because I saw you speak at the Galsano Institute for Entrepreneurship and Business, for Business and Entrepreneurship. You gave a great presentation, right?
Thank you.
You're very intentional. I think a lot of entrepreneurs aren't. They kind of I'll jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down. What I got from your talk was that you're very thoughtful and a lot of planning. Before, is that true? I mean, that's how I felt. So
that's true.
Yeah, and so it seems like you also care a lot about the culture, right? So
huge.
What are some of the things, if you're going to give our listeners and viewers some advice about how to steadily grow a company, and make it a place where people not only perform well but love to work there? What are some of the strategies that you do?
Well, we're very intentional about planning out the year ahead, and then what does 3 years out look like, and what does even 10 years out look like? Not just in terms of revenue, right? Yeah. But specifics that will make that possible, right? And so we just track it quarter by quarter. How are we doing in moving toward our goals? And like I said, in making smart investments in people and systems, being very intentional. As we've gotten bigger, I'm very intentional about our standard operating procedures. About cross-training people, investing in professional development, and just being really, really specific about our core values and making sure there's alignment between our team and those core values, and really, really not just saying that, but standing by that. Yeah. That determines who we hire and how they move up in our team. And I think that's really important. And people will talk about core values, but when you define them, and our team has defined them, what does it look like? Yeah. Action-wise to exceed expectations. Yeah. And so we can hold that up and say, how are we doing? Yeah. And so that has been really helpful to help us grow.
That's important. A lot of companies will spend time and they'll hire a strategic coach to help create the core values, right? So they spend 1 or 2 days, they put it on the walls, and then it's done, right? But I think the companies that do it well, like you, that go deeper, they define, well, what does this mean? Like what behaviors are being exhibited when we're living this core value?
Right.
And I think that's what you're doing, right? So.
And they're not aspirational values. We consider our A players.
Yeah.
And what are the values that they already embody?
Yeah.
That's who we are, right?
Yeah.
And that's where everybody, needs to aspire to be, but that's already who we are at our best, right? And so just defining that, and we had the team really help with those definitions. It wasn't like just a few of us on the management team that were like, here it is.
These are our core values, right? Yeah, develop them together, right?
But really, really staying true to those core values and making sure the team is supported is super important.
Right, yeah. No, I like that you explain the core values and give examples. When I had my company, did the same thing. We had one of our core values was that we aim to wow. We wanted wow experiences. And I thought we better define that because there can be a lot of different wow experiences, I was like when somebody gets off the elevator and if you're there in a trench coat saying, hello, like, that's a wow experience that we don't want. But if somebody calls us after 5 and they want somebody who's not there, you say, I'm sorry, John's not here, but can I help you? What can I do, That's a wow experience, right? So someone's going to hang up the phone and be like, I love doing business with this company. So we would define things. So I'm glad you're reminding me of all this stuff. So that's fantastic. You're obviously done very well. Your education goes up to Harvard and you continue your education. And some people may say, you don't need any more, right? But you are a lifelong learner and you're optimizing, your education through EO, YPO, WPO, and now Vistage. Why do you feel that you still need to continue learning? You're doing pretty darn well, right? You've won all these awards, and so what's the strategy for the lifelong learning?
Well, first of all, I love learning, so that helps. I really enjoy it, but I have to stay fresh.
Yeah.
And I want to always be growing, and you can only grow if you're learning. Yeah. Sometimes, information without action is frustrating, and I'll find that I'll get all jazzed up after a seminar. I'm like, I'm going to take on the world. I'm going to do 10 million things, and you can't. Yeah. But to pick our priorities and implement strategically things that I've learned, has been very helpful. And I'm also a fairly extroverted person, and so it helps for me to talk through ideas or issues. And so to be in a peer group where you have those kinds of conversations, even if you're not processing one of your challenges, it's somebody else's, you kind of figure things out in a way that just sitting at your desk or with your team on your typical agenda, you don't kind of get to. But I feel like starting day one, because a lot of the work in grad school was case study method, I felt like I'm living in a case, and so I had a lot of experience reading about a business, learning the context, and then, deciding what would I do and how, and writing a paper on it, but now I get to do it. And so but I still really appreciate being in a learning environment to help continue to do that.
I do the same thing, and I tell people I feel like a shark, and I need to constantly have water running through my gills, right? Just new learning running through my gills all the time, right? So you also optimize your personal life, right? You are running a very successful business, married, 3 kids, new puppy. Right? So how do you, at least from the outside in, how do you look so calm, cool, collect, and healthy and vibrant?
It's all a facade. No.
You go home and you have a primal scream room?
No. You can't do everything at once, and I have support. And part of the reason I moved home to Rochester was because I wanted to be near my mom when I had kids. And she's enormously supportive. We've got sitters who are enormously supportive. I have a very involved husband, and we do what we can do as best we can, and that's all you can do. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Do people reach out to you like wanting you to mentor them, or just for guidance and questions?
A little bit, and I have mentored some mostly younger women. I did that through MCC's
Yeah.
Star Power Initiative, which is a scholarship program I'm involved in that supports single parents attending the Monroe Community College. So I mentored a couple students through that program, which was great.
Yeah, yeah.
And sort of, informally, other than that.
Yeah. Well, I could just see if I was a young entrepreneur, I used to reach out to people that's how I met Dick Kaplan, and that's how I met your father. I would just, we said that you spoke at the Golisano Institute. I reached out to Tom Golisano, and he had lunch with me back in 1996, right?
That's great.
And I built, they didn't know they were on my advisory board, but in my head, I had an advisory board of all these great people.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, if I was 25 again starting a business and seeing your success, you'd be getting a phone call from me. So
it's interesting, and there were some students after the talk who said, would you be willing to get coffee? And I shared my information.
Yeah.
Often people don't follow up.
Yeah.
At least I haven't seen that yet, but maybe it will happen.
It's about the follow-up. That's a great lesson. Yeah. No, the way I met Tom Golisano was I was when I first started my company, I was a waiter at Mario's. Remember Mario's Via
Oh my
Brucey?
gosh, of course.
Yeah, and I was a waiter at night, and I ended up waiting on. I would always talk to my tables, right? Oh, what do you do? So I met Tom Golisano's executive assistant was at my table, and I said, "Oh my God, I just started a new company. Do you think he would talk to me and meet with me? I'd love to pick his brain, And she looked at me kind of like a cute little puppy, like, oh, I don't know. He's pretty busy because he still was like in the thick of running paychecks, And I followed up with like, well, here's my brand new little business card, like, can you at least ask him? And she's like, sure. And so she called me a week later and she goes, believe it or not, Tom's going to meet with you,
Wow.
And she's going to meet him at the North Side Inn, bring a notepad, ask a lot of questions, and I did.
That's great.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
Right? We set a target as a leadership team to be a best place to work 10 years out.
Yeah.
We did that like a year ago, and then I was like, well, let's just apply now. And then we got it.
You got it.
It's like you might as well give it a shot. You just never know.
You never know. Yeah. No, you got to, all good things begin with questions and follow up and really like bold decisions, right? So,
and sometimes just a baby step.
Yep. Yeah.
Ask the question.
Ask the questions. Yeah. Well, Abby, I wish you continued to be of success. I would imagine some people watching this are going to want to reach out to you, either to get their flooring from you, or maybe just to pick your brain and have some entrepreneurial questions. How can they reach you? What's the best way?
Sure. And I should say, if I didn't already, we are in commercial flooring. So we don't do retail business. So even, if you want to recarpet your master bedroom, that's not us. We do, larger, organizations, hospitals, K through 12 schools, universities, et cetera.
You're not doing like 2 Main Street, right?
Yeah, well, no, we do small businesses too, but just, we don't work with homeowners.
Gotcha.
On stuff.
Oh, when you said retail, I thought,
like retail, like come into our store and check out the carpet samples and look at the vinyl.
Right. Yeah, so you do businesses, corporations, things like that.
It's B2B. But I'm at Abby, ABBY, at gpflooring.com.
That's pretty easy.
And our website is gpflooring.com.
All right, excellent.
And,
Well, it's great to just see your success. You're such a shining star, and I'm very proud of you. So congratulations.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I wish you, like I said, massive continued success, and we'll have you on in another couple of years and see what you're doing.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and or listening. We're on Spotify, everybody. You can listen on Spotify. Actually, Spotify is so cool now. You can listen and watch, which is pretty cool. We're on YouTube. We're on our website. Please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your feedback. Maybe you have some suggestions for guests. But at the very least, like us, love us, share us, get the word out. Thank you so much. And make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.